everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to bring you this interview with Sridhar Vembu, the founder and chief scientist at Zoho Corp. Joining me on this conversation is Bhavya Dilip Kumar of Moneycontrol. Sridhar, an absolute pleasure to have you on Moneycontrol. Thank you very much. And considering this is our first conversation after you took charge as chief scientist, just want to start by asking you how life has changed. What are you able to do now that you were not able to do before, and vice versa?
So thank you, Chandra. Thank you, Bhavya, for having me. Vanakkam, namaskaram. So the big change is, of course, I spend a lot more time in code now. In fact, I spend about 70% of my time in code, and I would like to spend even more. And I review code every day. In fact, I file a lot of patents. So that's the change in life, and it has been, I enjoy that life. I'm meant to do this. I feel, and also I get to work with our rural teams more now. So I visit our some of our rural centers more often now than I was able to. I spend some time more with the young engineers there. That's also something that has changed. And one thing that has not changed is, of course, our work culture in Zoho, where it's very informal, very still, we still feel like a much smaller company than we are. So that's what has not changed. I hope it never changes.
Great. You, Zoho, and Arattai have been in the spotlight in the last month. It almost seems like Arattai, which was launched late, way back in 2021, has got this new lease of life. Just want to understand, Sridhar, Swadeshi tech is something that you have always pushed, but what is driving this renewed search? Because various ministers have been talking about it. There's a conscious push for Zoho, for companies like Map My India and their Maps product. Is this a result of the larger geopolitics? Will it continue? Will it sustain? Or is this a momentary thing? Can you
Yeah,
take us through what exactly is happening behind the scenes?
yeah. So there is a big Swadeshi uh, push movement going on, and our honorable Prime Minister mentioned it in his speech, and in fact, and I have been involved in Swadeshi for a while now. In fact, I've been involved in Swadeshi Javaran Manch with Sri Sundaram ji. All of these for last several years now. As I still, it's a matter of conviction for us. We need to be self-reliant in technology, and we need to be able to trade on equal terms. What we don't build, we should be able to buy, but on equal terms. And what I mean by that is products are sold to us without being weaponized against us. And that is unfortunate reality where countries don't just sell us technology. They also dictate terms on what you can do, not what you cannot do with all this. And that should not be acceptable to any sovereign nation. And it's definitely not acceptable to India. And that reality, what has happened is this whole field of technology in the last 20, 25 years kind of stuck upon us. We didn't realize how extremely dependent on technology our daily lives are now. In every matter, every field, regardless of whether you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a journalist, whatever, technology in the last 25 years has simply come to dominate our how we work and how we live, all of that. And in a subtle way, those technologies are now used as weapons of geopolitics. Okay, whether we like it or not, it's not our choice. We didn't make this happen. And there's all these toothless organizations like WTO now, which nobody talks about. Realize that World Trade Organization is nobody talks about this now. So that is why it's important now to do this. But this has been our conviction for a long period, and I'm very glad that that awakening is happening. That Swadeshi Jagan Manch was about creating that awakening. That has been working on it for 30 years. I have been personally involved with for the last 4 or 5 years, and now I'm glad to see the moment has arrived. How durable is it? I think the among all of our citizens, not only the government, all of our business people everywhere, this reality that sinking in that we must have self-reliance in all of the critical technologies. We must be able to trade on equal terms. I am all for trade. I am all for global trade, but the trade must be on equal, respectful terms, not with threats, not with weaponization, all of that. And that's why I think it is important to control the technologies within our nation.
Bhavya?
Right. Yeah, if I can chip in. Sridhar, many compare Zoho's Arattai to the surge of coup, right? When they came in, they did have a lot of government support. They did have a lot of user support as well. But what lessons do we grab from there? What coup also lacked was the network effect, which I mean, which Zoho does have in India. But what do you think are the lessons here, and what edge does Arattai have here to win?
Yeah. Um, First of all, nobody can predict what 6 months, 1 year will look like. And there's a lot of people who are maybe a little too happily predict that it'll meet the same fate and it won't take off all of that. They may even be right, but it does not actually matter to us. We will continue to build the technology. Okay, we'll continue to build the product. Because if not this moment, there'll be a future moment where all of this will be needed. Then we will be even more perfect, even more ready. Okay, that's what we've been doing all along. And in any event, this technology, all of this technology is useful for many different purposes, can be used in many different ways. The whole reason why all these technologies matter is they are so pervasive. And we cannot have such pervasive technology potentially be weaponized against us. That's why it's important. So we're happy to build this out. We're happy for all of the recognition we are getting now. But I promise to all of our users and to government, I make the same promise. Even without all the attention, we'll continue to build this. That's important.
Right. Just one more question. When we see WhatsApp, right, before Meta took over, they had raised about 60 million in funding. And even now, they get constant investment from Meta. So, how do you ensure, Arattai continues to sustain as a private firm without raising money, or will the strategy be changed here?
So if you look at broader Zoho ecosystem, the technologies behind Arattai are already used in our Zoho Click product, which is our, we offer stiff competition to Slack, Microsoft Teams, all of that. And that is doing extremely well. Actually, that was doing very well even well before Arattai came on the scene. So we do think that there is a way to monetize all of that independent of just the consumer alone. And then there is in the reverse direction, we have payments technology. We have a lot of things in Zoho that could be usefully integrated into Arattai for business use cases, business accounts, all of that. And all of that also are being worked on. And right now, in fact, we are deeply immersed in code. We are updating the systems every week. We are updating the app every week. We have made two updates in the last 2 weeks. This week, another update is rolling out. So our current goal is to scale it up, offer incredible user experience, refine the experience, and we are also doing focus group testing with non-tech users and users like my mother. And we are taking a lot of these users around even our office. We are testing it. Tell us what you think. Tell us, use it, and tell us your feedback. All of that. So we are taking all of those and we are reinventing the app as we speak. So all of that will happen, continue to happen, independent of whether there's all the attention on us or not. And I think that will also strengthen our whole capabilities even in the B2B software, our SaaS software. All of this refinement we are doing will flow back into our commercial offerings that customers pay for. We'll enhance the user experience, we'll enhance the speed, the scale, all of it. So it is teaching us a lot of lessons now, and that's why we will continue this. And we also have a mechanism to pay for it through the linkages I mentioned, where we can have technology we learn from this applied to commercial software, and in the reverse direction, businesses being served with Arattai.
Yes. Chandra?
Yeah, just want to understand the initial momentum that you saw. Are you seeing that sustaining in terms of usage metrics, retention metrics? And Sridhar, one question that keeps coming up is around privacy and end-to-end encryption of texts, because that's now a widely expected standard for messaging apps globally.
Yes, that is coming actually. In fact, it's being tested this week internally. We should roll it out in the next couple of weeks. After the testing is over, we'll roll it out. So that already was in development. It has already been developed. We were going to roll it out in about mid-November or so, but we are accelerating the timeline. We are rolling out sooner. We're just going through tests right now. So that is all. That's an easy one because we already worked on it. We had already developed most of the code around it. Now, coming to the sustaining, we are actually seeing a fairly good pace. We'll see day-to-day fluctuations, but we are actually seeing a daily momentum. I do expect ups and downs in this. Okay, I don't expect this to be a smooth, shot all the way. It never is like that. There has to be pivotal moments. We have to actually have more release cycles which address more of the use cases, and we also have to have a lot of integrations. For example, you have to integrate with various government services, integrate with banking services. All of that has to happen for it to be your reliable daily companion. That's how we are looking at Arattai. And it's some ways off, and we were, maybe 2 3 months, and we have then all of the APIs. We are working on all of that. But as I said, it's something where we were caught a little bit off guard. We were going to go with all of this about November timeframe, but it accelerated. Now we are scrambling, we are catching up. So,
Right. And, we were talking to the Métis secretary last week, and he said that, this is not a sudden push. The government has been increasingly using Zoho's suite of products. NIC migrated to Zoho emails. So tell us about the other work that you're doing for the government. The Education Ministry also recently sent a notification recently on Zoho products. What other parts of the government is Zoho powering? How are you amping up security for this? Considering this will involve sensitive data pertaining to government and its functioning.
yeah. What our Secretary Sri Krishnan mentioned, it was actually the NIC where that was announced a while ago. I think more than a year and a half ago, if I recall. And it has been steadily building up. All of the users are coming on board. About more than 1.5 million users are on board now, and we went through at least about 15, maybe 20 audits of covering all of the areas of our code, our data center, our security practices, all of it. Extensive number of audits we have gone through. And only after that, the NIC team selected Zoho. It was again stiff competition. Okay, there was a competitive bake-off. We went through a lot of audits, and then only it was adopted. So this is not some new thing suddenly that was sprung. Some people are imagining. And what is new is the whole push given to more Swadeshi software. It's a broader movement. In other words, I want to contrast the two things. Zoho was selected after a massive contest. Now, in the Swadeshi movement, we are also realizing this company is made in India. We must back this. We must promote this. We need these national champions. That awareness is now spreading, and it's not only in government. I want to emphasize we are seeing it in private sector. We are seeing it in, of course, you mentioned educational institutions. Not only government educational institutions, also private institutions are adopting Zoho in a big way.
Yes. Speaking of other suite of products and everything, Sridhar, there was also a big plan, semiconductor plan that was shelved. Give us a little bit sense about, will you be revisiting it? Are there any changes there? Give us a sense.
Um, right now, they're so busy on these. I think at least for the next 6 months, there is no plan. I am spending all this time on all this technology. I have meetings with Arattai team every day. I'm also spending on AI. Remember, don't forget AI. There's a lot of work going on. We made some announcements. 2-3 months ago on that. So there's a lot of work going on, and so that's where I know all the semiconductor, all of that right now. We just don't have the time to look at all this. So we have to get Arattai right. We have to get the all of the AI right, integrated into all of the Zoho suite, which is an ongoing process.
Understood. So within AI models, what is coming? Because there were a bunch of announcements about small language models and other areas where you're working. But give us something about what you're working on right now. You mentioned you're working most of the time on coding, but tell us what models are coming up. What's the AI tech that you're building now?
Yeah. So this is our labs team building all this. I work on some other parts of the stack now. The we put out some 7 billion parameter model. We are also announced that we are working on a 70 billion parameter model. These models achieve really good results on focused problems. So we are adopting it. So we are also on a multi-model universe where it's our software will use the appropriate model for the appropriate task at hand, specially trained or specially tuned for that task. That is how we are seeing it. So in fact, as we described in our literature, we are providing a real AI boost to all of the parts of the Zoho suite. And this is one approach. And where also the benefit of that is all of these smaller models are relatively low cost to run. So we don't have to tax the customer with a heavy price increase or something, which some other companies are doing. The second approach is to have one gigantic model where you push everything and with the associated costs, and then trying to pass on the cost to the customer. We have not done it, and we don't like to do it. We don't like massive price increases, so that's why we are adopting this approach. I believe this approach is also better. It gives the really the AI boost to productivity and enhances the user experience without imposing a heavy tax, neither in terms of the money nor in terms of the energy footprint. Let's not forget the energy footprint of AI today.
Yeah.
Massive new data centers are required. Again, that's a natural concern for our nation. How are we going to, how many gigawatt data centers, I mean, power stations are we going to build in order to supply these data centers? So it's important to keep that perspective in mind. We are already, we are energy sufficient now, but we increase the energy requirements by 10x, maybe 50x due to the AI. Can we handle it? So these are natural questions to ask. So we really believe in more energy efficient AI or sustainable AI.
Right. Sridhar, I have a question on the power one, but I have another question for you. See, in the last few weeks, we have seen a flurry of announcements from, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, Meta, on how they see India as this huge base for them in terms of developers. But, people fear that this is a repetition of the big tech playbook that was used in India, because today the Google of India's Google, the Meta of India's, Meta, and so on and so forth. Unlike China, which has its own answers to all of these apps, are you worried that India stands the risk of becoming the DAO farm of the world, the daily active user farm of the world, from an AI lens, because our foundational models are not there yet? We do have the government picking, some models for sovereign AI, but we are not there yet. How do you view this?
Yeah, it has to be a multi-pronged approach where we we build out the technology, which takes time, takes resources, not only in terms of R&D, but also now data centers, all of that. There's one issue is GPUs are both expensive and not necessarily available to us on any terms at all. That's the weaponization I talked about. An Indian company or even any Indian organization entity trying to buy GPUs is subject to a quota. And so those are the kinds of risks for us. On this side, the government can do something useful. This is something that I would suggest. If something is based in India, make sure that they comply with Indian law and make sure that those laws include, for example, the IP has to be registered in India and licensed to the parent. That's a very, I think that should be an easy change. Why an Indian citizens working in India generating valuable intellectual property, why should that IP be registered only in America or not in India? And why Indian taxes not be paid on the profits from that IP? It's a very natural question to ask. And because our brains are being harvested for it, why shouldn't we get paid for it? And our government should get taxes on it, right? So those are the, if we do this, see, I am all for trade, I'm all for global competition arriving here, but I also do want to ensure that they are paying their fair share for our national development, not simply be extractive. That's something that very important to pursue this matter.
Right. My follow-up question is on the data part that you mentioned. I think this week Google is going to announce a major investment in Andhra Pradesh to build a data center. TCS announced a 1 gigawatt data center last week that will, involve an investment of $5 to $7 billion over the next decade. There are many conglomerates as well who have announced these data centers. Now, there are reports coming out from the US that certain states are already seeing a surge in electricity bills or power costs because of this. So, how does India balance this going forward? The need for investment, the need to create jobs with, not making the cost of power and energy prohibitive.
Yeah. This actually is a multi-trillion dollar question even in the US. This is not actually even answered even in the US because a lot of sane voices think there's a lot of hype and there's a bubble emerging in this. Because the critical question to ask is, okay, there's trillions of dollars pouring into it in the US context. What benefit has it conferred on the broader economy in terms of productivity gains, all of it? And there are now already people complaining, and I tweeted about this, where my electricity bills are going up. So I'm already paying for AI in a way. And where is the all the productivity miracle for me? Where is my income going up? So that's question is being asked there. In India, this will be even more vital because we just first day we cannot afford the scale of the investment for both the data centers, the GPUs, and the power plants, all of that. B, if our power bills go up that much, it's a very hot political issue too. So we cannot afford the power bill to increase that much as they're increasing in many parts of the US right now. So, which means that we have to take a much more sensible approach to this, where we have to ask what is the benefit of this technology, what is the actual benefit, and can we do it cheaper? That's why we talked about the small language models, all of that. We believe that's a sweet spot where we can get all of the benefits of this without spending all of the power and the money for it. And for example, edge intelligence pushed to your device. You are anyway always have your phone, and it's it costs very little to charge that phone. So the AI residing on that, it's also a privacy benefit. So those kinds of models are, in my opinion, better long term.
Bhavya?
Yeah. And in terms of talent, right, you briefly addressed about it, but how do we retain talents in India? What is your take? Because given all the geopolitical tensions that we are seeing right now, you always believe that, there are enough and more talent in India, but how do we sustain and retain them?
It's the twofold. One, there is of course the push and pull, right? And why is talent going out in the first place? And how do you make it attractive to stay? But underneath all of this, I want to make a fundamental point here. We need, particularly among our educated elite, a sense of we belong to this nation. That's the patriotic spirit that is also needed. And if you look at China, if you look at Japan, if you look at Korea, they developed because they had that spirit. And without that spirit, I don't know that it's all of these become a meaningless question. If my location is merely a choice, it's like which color shirt I wear today. I can be here or I can be there. It doesn't matter. Then it's not really, that's not conducive to development here. So we have to have that spirit as a nation in our citizens, that I want our nation to succeed. I want our people to do well, all of that. That's important. That is the true nationalistic spirit. This is the spirit of our Swaraj, our independence. And last 20, 30 years, we saw this theme of globalization where we mistook it for, hey, nobody has to care about their country. It's all a globalized, one world anyway. Not true. It's not really true. Okay. So we very much have to care about our nation. That is the first sense we have to get. All of the rest, the push and pull factors I said, are above that foundation. And what I will submit to you is if you see the rural India, if you see all our smaller towns, there is that sense, that spirit of belonging to this nation is there very much. Unfortunately, it has gone missing a little bit in our hyper educated elite because of our exposure. We think, yeah, I am a global citizen. I don't necessarily belong here. I live wherever, right? That attitude has to change, really. And it is not there in China. It is not there in Japan. And we also, I'll say this, okay? That's why I promote our own languages. Within Tamil Nadu, I speak Tamil as much as possible. And I tell people, if you are going to move to Bangalore, learn Kannada. If I'm going to move to Mumbai, learn Marathi. It is important. All our languages are important. Each of our languages have much bigger than European country size population. They are very viable. Kerala is viable. Malayalam is beautiful language. There is 35 million people, 40 million people who speak it, and it is bigger than many nations that have their own languages. So we can do this, and we have to make that commitment. All of these are important. I mean, this point might sound tangential to technology. It is not, because I tell you, the reason for Zoho to exist is not because I'm any special kind of genius or any of it. It's not. It's because our average employee feels that the national spirit, that we have to build it for this nation. We have to build it in this nation. That spirit is why Zoho is still taking. I hope that we get that spirit in our nation in a broad way, particularly among our educated citizens.
Yes. Sridhar, you're also on the board of National Security Advisory Board. So how do you
I think
see?
my term ended about a year ago, so it's not. I'm not a member right now. So I want to be clear on that.
Okay, okay. But you are a staunch believer. You've always said that, we should deeply read China's tech, whatever they are doing and how they are doing it. But how do you see the geopolitics playing between US and China? And does India have an edge here?
Yeah. So we are in a world that is very different than what we got used to for about 30 years. And these were coming. It was not, I was not surprised by these happenings because the entire trading system of the world was built on an illusion, monetary illusion. The 2008-9 crisis was one break in that illusion. Unfortunately, we papered over it and the illusion continued. Even today, the global system is very unstable. This independent tariffs, all of that. I want to be clear. It is not just tariffs or all of that. Look at the Japanese currency. It's 153 yen to a dollar. Japan has had long-standing problems arising from that unbalanced global system itself that had nothing to do with the present tariff policies, all of them. Okay, Japan's problems go back 40 years now. So that's why I think it is important to realize how did we arrive at this moment? The history is important. It's not just of this tariff or that. And the tension between US and China is inevitable because one of them is a massive exporter, the other is a massive importer. And we cannot keep on going that way, independent of whoever is in power. And these things erupt in tensions eventually when you are doing this. Like it's between friends. If I'm going to keep lending to someone and they keep borrowing, or the vice versa, we won't be very friends very long. That's exactly what is happening. So the balance has gone missing in this system, and that's why it is. And India itself today we run a modest deficit, but we still run a deficit. We should not be running a deficit. I also don't want us to run a massive surplus either. So we have to run a more balanced trade. And second, we also have to be much more symmetrical in terms of technologies we trade. That's where we are heading, I believe, in the next 5 to 10 years, and that will require sacrifices on our part. Sacrifices means we work hard for these to build up all these technologies so that we can trade on equal terms. We have to invest in all of the critical technologies so that nothing can be weaponized against us. And when we buy something, we ensure that we also equally sell something that's valuable, equally valuable. That is the whole idea. And I also have gone, many times I've talked about this. Unfortunately, we got very poor economic advice, particularly from economists trained in the West. I have to say this, from universities like Columbia or Chicago or wherever, Harvard. They gave us very bad advice. And when we took that advice, that is why we are here. And we shouldn't be taking that advice. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand these issues of trade. I'm saying it openly. Okay, they are not really trade experts in any deep sense. They don't understand this symmetry in trade, technologies, how technologies can be weaponized, all of it, the strategic nature of it, national security implications, all of it. And then they were rendering advice about, hey, just trade it. You can focus on only services. Everything else we can buy for money. But what is money in the global system? And I submit to you, the only real money in the global system is gold. And you can see what is happening to gold right now. So, which is why we must operate with the assumption that this trading system will continue to fray around the edges. The tensions will continue to build up because until balance is restored. And we can play a useful role in restoring the balance by building all of these technologies. And our Honorable Prime Minister made a very important point recently. When India has all these technologies, we would be happy to share, like what we are doing with UPI and all of this. We will not weaponize this against nations. We will be happy to share. That's also very important. I think that is the new global order we have to see.
Excellent points there, Sridhar. Final couple of questions. Zoho is possibly the most profitable SaaS firm software to come out of India, completely bootstrapped. But you still have a lot of dependence on the US. So, how do you kind of square that with this push for self reliance, the fact that you're still a company that relies heavily on clients in North America for revenues?
Yeah, we serve them very happily. We provide a outstanding value. We provide great software, and we are winning in the global open markets. And we will continue to do so, right? Just like Indians are buying, Apple computers or use all this, Americans use our software. So I'm very happy with that. But at the same time, we must ensure that we are able to trade on equal terms. That I repeat again and again and again, not these asymmetrical terms we are forced to live with today. That's why we have to build up our capabilities. And in this, I also want to mention the GCCs, the Global Capability Centers. It's very important, as I made this point earlier, that the IP be registered in India, and the profits from IP, also the Indian government, the Indian public see the benefit of those taxes, because those taxes are important. Because we are talking about truly massive amounts of profits here, taxes must be paid here too. So these are all very important.
Right. Last couple of questions. I know we're running out of time. Will you ever reconsider an IPO for Zoho?
It's not my decision now. See, I'm not CEO now, so you should ask Shailesh and rather these questions. But I personally, the fact that we are private, I enjoy the benefits that it
Freedom.
confers. I'm working hard on technology right now. I'm very glad I don't have to worry about stock prices or any of that. So,
Do you believe AI is entering bubble territory?
uh, definitely, there is there are some people who are arguing it's not because the multi trillions will be justified by the productivity gains. But why aren't they there already? That's the question, right? If for all the investments already made, we must be seeing dramatic gains in at least knowledge work. We are seeing some, but that's not enough commensurate with the amount of investment going in. Take actually one area that I'm familiar with, AI based coding. I'm actually a fan of it. I use a lot of it for this. But I wouldn't say it replaces a really good programmer. It augments them. In many cases, it's getting this what we call the boilerplate code well. But that's also a reflection of the poor state of languages and tooling rather than only AI doing this dramatically. If the languages and tooling were better, we would not have so much boilerplate, which means AI does not have a easy picking to optimize away the boilerplate. I mean, I can give you in content. If most of the essay you write is boilerplate, AI can generate it. But if you are going to say something very original, you better say it yourself. AI can help you come up with those thoughts, maybe refine your thinking, but you still have to write it. So that's the same thing with programming too.
Understood. Thank you very much. Lastly, what is your focus going to be for the next few months apart from Arattai and all the things that you're doing as chief scientist? What can we expect from you for the next, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months? What's your focus going to
Well, code and more code. That's my
be?
currently. I'm waking up to code and I'm going to sleep to code. So
Are you doing any vibe coding?
yeah, some little bit of it. But as I said, it can automate boilerplate. How do we get rid of the boilerplate without that vibe coding? That's part of my focus.
Great. On that note, Sridhar, thank you very much for taking time out and talking to us on money control. And here's wishing you, Zoho, and Arattai the best in this journey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar.
Thank you, sir.